Hello everybody, we're going to do a little quick lesson on opposition, one of my favorite things. I also like it because a lot of opposition is pretty easy. Let's take a look at this position where we have the winning side, which is white, and the losing side, which is who? Black. So here, if it's white's move, the idea should be to get your king out in front of the pawn. A lot of kids will just start charging this pawn up. And then, of course, black, if they're smart, they charge up towards the pawn, and maybe white will follow the pawn. And this will be a draw because black can get behind the pawn and in opposition. White will try to get past, but as long as black stays kind of in opposition, oppositions when the two kings are facing, they will not get the pawn past. Check, stay behind. Now they could start doing silly things like moving their king out there. Then you might be able to get it out in front. But if they're smart, they just stay behind the pawn. Oops. And let's get that king back over there. So look, you cannot get past. Eventually, opposition, check, behind the pawn. They can't take opposition because they can't get in front of the pawn. And then you take opposition where the two kings are facing, check, behind the pawn, here, and stalemate. See how that works? But let's go back to the beginning, and let's do it the right way. And again, opposition is when the two kings are facing, and there's an odd number of squares in between. Just one square is an odd number, of course. So back at the beginning, if white were to be smart about it, he would get his king out in front. This is actually opposition because there's three squares in between. 3 is an odd number. Opposition. Now here, after the king moves there, you can actually, you don't want to keep taking opposition because the goal of the game is not to take opposition. The goal is to get checkmate. Opposition helps you get to checkmate. So here you could do what's called outflanking. You outflank over here. Maybe they come back. You can take opposition again. They move out of the way, and you outflank. And notice how you're making progress. The king keeps going further down. They come to the side. Now you can charge that pawn up. Eventually you're going to do that to get the queen. They go here. Now they can't take opposition with your next move. If you play that, they can't get in front of you or even in front of the pawn without you taking opposition. So this move is good. They can come back in, and what's the move here for white? Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. If you chose king to e6 opposition, that was correct. King just goes to e6 opposition. Now if you make one wrong move, like pawn to e6, then it becomes a tie. They can take opposition, black can, and what would the black move be here to take opposition? Pause the video if you need to. If you said king to d8, you were correct. And then they'd check, and king would get behind the pawn, and it would be a tie. Oh, they wouldn't take the king. No, that wouldn't happen. No, that would be pretty funny if it did, though. So let's go ahead and get that king back on. King back on the board. Where's that king? There we go. So going back, if you get a position like this, white takes opposition. The king moves out of the way. You outflank, and you're outflanking and touching the queening square. They can't get back, and then you march it down and get the queen. Pretty easy. So remember, it's always good to get opposition. Let's do a couple practice problems. What is a good move in this position for white? Okay, if you said king to e5, you were correct. Now let's say that it's white's move here. Let's make it white's move again. What is a good move in this position for white? All right. You actually don't want to move the king because you're in opposition. You want the black to move out of opposition, so you just move this pawn up. Black has to move out of opposition. He goes out of opposition. What is a good move for white here? If you said outflanking, perfect. All right. Okay, guys, I just wanted to do a little bit on opposition there. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll see you next time.